I have already sent you a request. So, uh,
Just give me
hello
a second,
everyone.
Ria.
Yes, you can take your time. I'll just introduce myself. Until then, we're back with another live. There should be some problem with the audio.
Yeah,
So
I think my
today,
it's from my phone.
yeah, just give us
Yeah, give me.
1 minute, guys, to figure it out. Think it's good now. Yeah. No, it's okay now. I cannot hear anything, Aditya. Okay, so as you all know, my name is Ria Jain and I'm the head of iThrive Academy. And today, on account of World Mental Health Day, we decided that we should, talk about mental health from different perspectives, right? Right. So we have Aditya here with us. So the topic of discussion today is understanding this
Are you still
some
getting the disturbance?
yeah, yeah, there's some background noise that is coming in.
I think it's from the Instagram. It's from there is some issue with the Instagram. Just give us a second. We are trying to figure out.
Okay, okay.
We can just go live to as suggested by Tisha. You can only go on YouTube
All right.
live currently from YouTube only.
Okay.
So
So
you
for people
can.
who've joined in using Insta, we'll be sharing the video shortly on our Insta page, so you can go through the live there. I am so sorry for having do this, but yeah, that would be it from my side. Okay. So yeah.
Ria, we can do one thing. Ria, we can do one thing.
Yes.
I can try to go online from Instagram itself. Again, can you send me a request again on Instagram?
I actually,
I will try
okay.
to
I'll have to
do it
start the
from
live
Instagram
again.
again, so because we have a lot of viewers waiting for us on Instagram.
Yeah, there are actually a lot of
Just
viewers who
just
are
try
asking.
once again. I fixed the error that
I'll
is
try.
there.
I'll try. I've started the live and I've also sent you the invite, Aditya. Have you received it?
Yeah, yeah. Just a second. Not
All
yet.
right. So I was just,
Just a
yeah, I
second.
was just talking to our viewers here. So we are live today on the topic of understanding mental health through, different perspectives. These being from a functional nutrition perspective and also from a psychologist's perspective. So we
Yeah.
have Aditya here today. Aditya, did you get the request?
No, not yet. Can you just send it once again?
I
I'm able to
actually
see
sent
that
it.
we are live, but
Aditya, I have invited you. Can you check?
I haven't received it yet.
It shows invited from my side. Okay, I think we should skip Insta for now.
Sure, sure, sure. Okay.
Let's just carry on from here. So uh, today we have actually come up with a live on a very interesting topic, which is it's about a lot nowadays. That's about mental health, and we thought why not understand two different perspectives on mental health on account of World Mental Health Day being today. So I have Aditya here with me, who is a psychologist. I mean, that was just a short introduction from my side, as I had mentioned that we are going to discuss about two perspectives on mental health. So, Aditya, would you please go ahead and introduce yourself, your
Hi,
journey
Ria.
of a
Yes.
psychologist?
Yeah, yeah, Ria. Thank you so much for inviting me. Just give a very short introduction. I have done my bachelor's in psychology, and my master's in clinical psychology, and
Oh,
I've
great.
done various kinds of yeah, I've done various kinds of internships under psychiatrists, working under psychiatrists where they handle lots of patients that are there. So I have some real world experience as well, and it's I've been connected with the iThrive Academy since 1.5 years, and I've been the student of batch 2 at the iThrive Academy,
Oh,
so it
that.
has really been, yeah, helpful for me. So yeah, that's the brief introduction that I have.
Thank you so much, Aditya, for introducing yourself. And that's quite a experience working as a psychologist also, since you that you worked under psychiatrists and worked
Yes.
on different cases. So what I want to hear from you would be mainly understanding mental health from a psychologist's perspective. So I have a few questions that came to my mind that we could discuss and understand mental health from in that way. So can you just let us know, let the audience know that how was mental health looked at from a conventional psychology perspective while you were studying?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a really good question. So, mental health is looked upon as your psychological well-being. So, well-being is nothing but a state of health and happiness. So, well-being is self-explanatory. So, I would be talking about the current perspective. What currently people think, the conventional education that is there in psychology and the view of psychologists. So, as I mentioned that physical health. Similarly, we talk about mental health. So how healthy you are mentally, and what psychologists do is they have used the word psychological well-being when it comes to mental health. So they think that psychological well-being is connected to your mental health, and psychological well-being is divided into six factors. So there is a six-factor theory which psychologists use to like measure or like say that how much psychologically well you are how is your psychological well-being. So these six factors, these are basic six factors that we find in our life. Like first of all, the first factor is autonomy. So the person should have autonomy in his life. He should be independent. Then he should have personal growth. So he should be able to see growth in his life in any kind of field, his career, his life, all different aspects. Then he should have a purpose in life. He should have positive relationships with others. Mastery. So he should master his environment. He should be able to solve problems in his life. He should be able to adapt to new situations, and he should have self acceptance. He should be accepting what he is and his circumstances. So these six factors, if these six factors are there in a person's life, then he's said to have a really good mental health. He's said to be mentally healthy. So these factors are there, and this is how psychologists generally, generally think that okay, if these factors are going well, then you will have a good mental health in your life. And also, when you typically go to a counselor, they nowadays are using person-centered therapy. So they would be like interacting with you first of all, and they would be giving the client's problems the most importance. So for example, if you go to a psychologist, if something is troubling you, go to a counselor, they will ask you that what is troubling, and bring their own interpretations of your problems. So for example, even if a pity issue is trying to trouble you, and yeah, so the psychologist will place the importance on that particular pity issue. He would not say that okay, this issue is very insignificant, so this should not be talked upon. So that is not the case right now. So the current psychology scene is like really good,
Right.
and they are,
There has
yeah, they
been
are
a
using.
significant improvement, right?
Yes, yes, yes. Currently, there is significant improvement, and they
That
are using.
yeah, there's actually quite a lot done to understand a person's mental health, and that actually answers my question, as I wanted to understand how is
Mhm.
mental health looked at from a conventional psychology perspective. But then this brings me to another question straight away, since nowhere you mentioned about diet, lifestyle, and nutrition being uh, aspects when it comes to mental health. Do you think
Mhm.
were these ever touched upon or brought about or mentioned while you studied psychology as important aspects of, describing a person's mental health?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And the things you know mentioned right now about lifestyle, about diet, about the environment, they are not very often talked about, in the education that is there. So we were like taught biopsychology, which was the biological basis of behavior. We were taught about the nervous system, the neurotransmitters, the brain, but not much about what things influence it, what
Right.
dietary changes influence these things, and what nutrients are required for a neurotransmitter to work, and what things, what kind of diseases will affect, will lead to, what kind of physical diseases will lead to a mental disorder. Those things, really aren't touched even today, as of today. So only the psychological perspective is kept, very important. They are mentioning that the environment is very important, the people around you and the things that influence you are very important, but not the physical things, the nutrients, the actual environment, physical environment that is there. So they are not being touched upon. That is one flaw that I can find.
Right, because moving ahead, we will be actually emphasizing a lot on, how diet, lifestyle, and nutrition can play an important role. So, since you mentioned in your introduction that you have already done the functional nutrition course from iThrive Academy batch second,
Hmm.
can you share some of your learnings about mental health that you learned newly, apart from what you learned in your masters and also in your graduate from the teachings at the iThrive Academy?
Sure. This thing was, the academic course was a, like a gift to me, in terms of increasing my knowledge. So I got to know lots of things, that certain B vitamins are very important for your mental health, for your neurotransmitters, for your serotonin, dopamine, and uh, certain health conditions like thyroid can put you under depression. Environmental toxins can affect the way we think, and our moods as well. So they can cause hormonal imbalance, which I did not know. So these toxins that are there, these environmental toxins, they can lead to mood changes, and they can cause irritation as well, hyperactivity, irritation. So all of these, impatient, impulsive behavior that we are seeing in children, in adults right now, it may be because of artificial colorings, body care, personal products that is there. So those are very important, and we were never taught of that these things, something that you eat or something that you apply on your skin, can have an adverse impact upon your mental health.
True. So yeah, I mean, that's one other perspective that you can look at mental health, right? And I suppose that is one of the most important, I mean, aspects when it comes to dealing with a person suffering from a particular mental health issue or a group of issues together. So that was from a psychology perspective on how, you can understand about mental health. But when it comes to functional nutrition, so we have talked about functional nutrition in different diseases. Mental health is something that cannot be spared, because functional nutrition can also deal with mental health issues, because this practice is all about finding the cause, right? And as Aditya mentioned that in his learnings from iThrive Academy, he learned that there are certain things that that you follow in your daily life, your nutrition, your diet, can also impact your mental health and can result in a mental health issue. So I would just want to put some light on, how a functional nutrition perspective can, help you understand your mental health, and or someone else's mental health, if you know of is suffering from. So as I mentioned, functional nutrition looks at the causes, right? So there are causes to any of the mental health problems that a person is showing, right? It might not always be, because yeah, most of it is because of trauma and bad past experiences, and the environment they live in, as Aditya mentioned initially, right? The six factors on how mental health is being looked at. But then there are other causes also when it comes to functional nutrition and looking at mental health from a diet, lifestyle, and nutrition perspective. One of the most important factors being nutrient deficiencies, again mentioned by Aditya, since he mentioned that B complex vitamins are something that are so closely related to your mental health. So nutrient deficiencies are something that needs to be looked into when you know of someone who is suffering from a mental health problem. So these nutrient deficiencies would be in the form of certain vitamin mineral deficiencies. So vitamins like B complex. So under B complex, to be specific, there's folate, that's important. Vitamin B12, that's important, right? And when it comes to other nutrients, you require good amounts of magnesium. You require good amount of B6, choline, right? You require good amount of zinc and iron to keep your brain functioning in a good way, and help your or keep your mental health good. So these would be some of the nutrients, and the deficiencies of these can directly lead to certain problems to start with. So that's one of the causes. The other cause, there was so in the previous live we discussed a lot about the gut brain axis. So anything that goes wrong with your gut is directly going to influence your functioning of the brain. So your gut health is again that needs to be looked into, that can impact your mental health. So that's one another cause that can lead to mental health problems. One of the issues, as Aditya had brought up, was toxins. Would you like to share something on toxins, Aditya? How toxins can impact your mental health? What would be these toxins?
They can be anything from biotoxins to environmental toxins. So, like Avinash has asked a question about mycotoxins. Ria, you can
Oh yes.
better explain that. But mycotoxins do cause lots of unexplained illnesses in people, unexplained anxiety, unexplained depression, and where doctors are not able to diagnose the cause of a particular mental disease. And mold, specifically, if there is mold growth in your house, you can have a chronic inflammatory response syndrome from that. So mold will deplete all your nutrients. It will cause lots of inflammation in the body, and again, it will deplete B vitamins, vitamin A of the body to maintain the neurotransmitter health. So again, they are going to, it is negatively going to impact your mental health, and doctors often do not check this with their patients, the exposure to toxins. And when it comes to heavy metals as well, so heavy metals can displace your important minerals that are there in the body. So your heavy metals will deplete magnesium from your body, will deplete copper from your body, and when you don't have those minerals in your body, you'll not have a mineral balance in your body, so you're going to crave these minerals. And heavy metals also block it disbalances your hormones as well. It blocks the receptor sites where your hormones are getting synthesized, so you are definitely going to feel irritated, depressed, anxious, hyperactive all the time because you have been exposed to so much of the toxins. And even if you take good care of your mental health by going schedule, but still you're not able to feel good. The reason is because of toxin exposure. So you need to get in touch with a functional nutritionist to evaluate, those, the exposure that you have.
Absolutely. You need to know about the toxins that you can get exposed to in the first place, and you need to understand how is your body dealing with these toxins, because I feel it's the most neglected root causes of all, because people don't put a lot of emphasis on the impact that toxins might have on your body, but the impact is a lot. Right from your brain health to losing weight can also become a problem if there's a lot of toxin overload inside your body. So that's one other cause. And when it comes to tips on improving your mental health, what you can do to improve your mental health. So what I would suggest would be make up your nutrient deficiencies, like your brain needs fat. Like 60% of your brain is made up of fat, right? Why would you deplete uh, your brain from, just cutting down, unnecessarily cutting down good sources of fat, right? So your brain does need all that fat coming in from essential fatty acids. So these would be your omega 6 fats, right? Sorry, omega 3 fats, okay? And you need to yes, you need to cut down on the bad fats, but then inclusion is what I'll be focusing on. So coconut oil is a good source of fat. Your organic butter is a good source. Your non-vegetarian products sourced from of good quality, like grass-fed, pasture-raised, non-vegetarian foods. They actually contain good fats, which your body requires. So do not unnecessarily keep yourself away from the good fats that you get from these natural foods, like egg, the yolk. So mostly people discard the yolk part. That's actually contained in a lot of good fats and an important nutrient named choline, which again defines your mental health, right? So this would be one most important tip from my side: inclusion of good fats to keep your brain functioning in a good way. Another tip would be looking at your gut. So again, it need not be following very superficial approaches which you find on internet, like just popping up a probiotic and eating prebiotic rich foods, because sometimes these might not help, but you need to first know about where you are at when it comes to dealing with your gut health. If you are someone who is suffering from a lot of acidity or bloating like symptoms, you need to find the cause of your gut health first. What problem are you suffering from, and then go about approaches, because prebiotic probiotics are good for your gut, but then you need to first understand what your gut is actually demanding in order to improve. So that would ultimately help improve your mental health also. So that would be another tip. And third would keeping yourself away from toxins as much as possible. Some were mentioned by Aditya. So these toxins can go in your body in the form of the colorings, the preservatives, the additives, the dyes that are added to your foods, right? These are uh, uh, substances that are mentioned on your food label. You just have to be keen enough to read the food label and then identify is it good for your body or not, right? So keeping away from these toxins as much as possible. So these are just some toxins that we can discuss now. Of course, if you want to know about them, we have an entire module planned around toxins and detoxifying from these toxins in the functional nutrition course. Just wanted to also mention one particular point for kids, like for children. So when it comes to children, if they are showing a lot of hyperactive behavior and a lot of impulsive behavior, that might also be because of increased toxin overload in their body, right? So you need to keep your child also away from these substances that I had mentioned. And the most common source is food, right? So you need to be really aware of what you're giving your child. So that would be that from a functional nutrition perspective. Anything that you would want to share, Aditya, from a psychologist perspective, on what could be done to deal with mental health issues or improving mental health?
Yeah, so thank you so much, Ria, for sharing all of these things, all of the solutions that you mentioned from a functional nutritionist perspective, and you're completely right. And like I'd like to share an example. Like during my bachelor's, one day I just asked my professor that is he aware of the gut-brain axis? So he was not aware. He was not aware of the gut-brain connection. He said, "Is there a connection?"
Oh,
Of both of these things. So people are still not aware, and a lot of faculty that are there, they are not updated with their knowledge, especially in India when it comes to mental health. So the like because psychologists do not offer medications, we are not allowed to offer medications, so we don't have that in-depth knowledge of biology, but we do need that in-depth knowledge and this. to take that knowledge. So as you asked me, is there any are there any tips that are there? So I would say, tips wouldn't be enough, because recovering from a mental health issue is a very big task. Not linear, as they say. So any short term strategy would not be enough, and I would always request anyone that is suffering should visit a licensed educated therapist that is there. And when it comes to short term, if you're not able to get access, or if you're facing trouble, if you don't have the resources, so it's very simple. You just, first of all, you need someone to talk to. That is the most basic thing. So
Exactly.
you need to, yeah, so you need to be expressing whatever there is inside of you, right? So
That,
it
and
is,
you can always get your internal health checked first, right?
yeah, yeah, both of them. As we already discussed, the holistic model is very important. So
Exactly.
talking to somebody will solve half of the problem, but they might not be qualified. They might not know how to deal with the problem. They might give you the wrong advice.
You need to
So
know
there,
whom to talk to, right?
yes, yes, yes. Whom to talk to, and as I mentioned, talk to a licensed therapist. That is very important. And if you're feeling very anxious, you need to do some kind of breath work or breathing exercise, because that is going to make you go through your day. And as they say in functional nutrition, sleep is very important to keep your
Yes.
stress low. So I have seen, even personally, if I don't get 8 hours of sleep every day, it makes me very irritated. So sleep, you have to have 8 hours of sleep every day, regardless of what you do, and having a consistent schedule. Consistent schedule will tell your body that uh, you have a familiar schedule, and your body will not be very anxious. It knows what is going to happen. So having that consistent schedule, and other than that, if you are in a very living in a very toxic environment, then you need to get out of it. You need to find solution of how to get out of that. So yeah, I cannot tell everything right now, because it depends upon the
Exactly.
person, his environment, and everything. But these basic things, are very important. But go to a like licensed therapist. That is what I would say. And because people in India cannot, a lot of times they cannot afford a good therapist. So there are lots of NGOs that are there, which provide free counseling, at least for the starting. They provide free counseling to people, and they help them to at least get somebody. So some professional will talk to them, understand, and if they need real help, then the professional will guide them towards that real help. So look, go on Google and look up on such NGOs. There are lots of NGOs that are there in India which will help.
Exactly.
So yeah.
Yeah, thanks so much, Aditya, for sharing these tips. Again, these would be really general, and
Hmm.
only a bio-individual approach is something that is going to be helpful here. Even a functional nutritionist can help you with the causes that I mentioned, and the tips that I've mentioned. You can start following them right away. They are not going to do you any harm. So get
Hmm.
yourself checked internally first. Talk to a therapist, right? Talk to a functional nutritionist, whomever you are comfortable with, right? Because in the end, it's about your health, right? And mental health is also not something that is isolated.
Hmm.
Everything works in harmony. So let's go to the
Yes,
questions,
yes, yes. Questions,
Aditya.
the few
So,
questions.
yeah,
Yeah.
there's a question on why
Yes,
do
yes,
Shagun
yes.
is asking, why do we crave for certain foods when we feel low? So there, we crave for certain foods, mostly sugary foods, when we feel low, right? We feel like eating something sweet. Mostly a chocolate is something that helps boost our mood. So that probably is a sign of a particular deficiency, that's magnesium. So that needs to be looked into, because usually when people are deficient in magnesium is when they start craving certain foods. Anything that you want to
Yeah.
add, Aditya?
Yeah, and specifically, people crave for processed food because they're cooked in seed oils, and in general, that food has lots of energy inside it.
Exactly.
it has
Instant
lots of
energy.
calories. So our body wants, whenever your body is under stress, it would want something to give it energy, because your body is under stress, and stress requires lots of fuel to cope up. And one more reason is insulin resistance. Area, you might be very familiar with it. So
Yes,
if the
yes,
glucose,
absolutely.
if the glucose inside the cell is not being oxidized well, it will be too high blood sugar, and your body
You'll be
is
constantly
not,
low on energy.
yeah, you would be low on energy because the glucose is not being utilized properly. So you would want more and more and more sugary foods.
Foods.
So yeah, that is one reason.
Yes, so that would be the answer to that question. There's a question on, are there any cases where SSRIs may be helpful? Would you want to take that up, Aditya?
It is difficult to say, because I don't have a lot of experience with SSRIs, because I do not prescribe medication. But definitely, SSRIs, with my experience with my psychiatrist,
Would you
I
like
was,
to tell our audience what SSRIs actually are? The
yeah,
serotonin
yeah. So there is a theory, in psychology or psychiatry, which says that low amounts of serotonin causes depression, because serotonin is a neurotransmitter that is linked to your mood, your sleep, and hunger, and a lot of things. So whenever you're low on serotonin, it leads to depression, lethargy, and all of the connected symptoms that are there. So usually psychiatrists prescribe selective serotonin reuptake inhibitors. So
inhibitors.
so it inhibits the reuptake of serotonin, and it basically allows your mood to be better. It increases your mood.
But in the end, these are medications
So
only, right, Aditya?
with these medications have lots of side effects. I've already observed it working with my psychiatrist, but the psychiatrist give it, they provide it as a temporary solution to whatever problem that the client is facing. And with psychiatrist, whenever you're talking with a psychiatrist, it depends upon how good the psychiatrist is. So if he's a very very commercially oriented psychiatrist, then he will just talk to you for 5 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes maximum. He will not even ask if you're eating well, how well you're sleeping. He will just ask, a brief description of your problems, and he will just take out a medication and prescribe that medication to you, like SSRIs. So SSRIs, as per my experience with the psychiatrist, they have been helpful in the short term, but they might produce dependency. That is a big problem, and to curb that different dependency, we need another drug for that.
Right.
So
And what
the
are
psych
these
so that
initially
is
prescribed for? Like for depression and mood related problems only, right?
depression. Yeah,
Mostly.
yeah,
All
yeah.
right.
Mood related problems, and for anxiety, they are prescribing benzodiazepines. So benzodiazepine is
Oh,
working upon the reuptake of GABA. So it is increasing the action of GABA in our brain,
GABA.
gamma aminobutyric acid. So it works like alcohol. You know how alcohol works. So similarly, the psychiatrist is providing benzos.
All right. So yeah, that's a very temporary solution, I would say, and not at all foolproof. The problem is going to come back, and there's going to be a relapse. And as you mentioned that to cut down on the dependency, there's something else that you'll have to pop in. So again, looking at the cause, it again takes us back to that thing only, that you need to look at the cause. And there's another question that says, can EMF exposure cause mental disorder? Yes, EMF exposure can cause mental disorders. So, for those of you who are hearing this term for the first time, EMF is our electromagnetic fields. These are basically radiations which are given out by electronic equipments and your mobile phones, TV, and all the other appliances around you. And these were not considered to be, these radiations coming out of these appliances were not considered to be very harmful until now, because there are two sides to the spectrum, and these radiations weren't considered powerful. That's true in some way, that these are not very powerful, but when you look at the exposure, we are exposed to them almost throughout the day. and there's no just cutting back or keeping away from the radiations. So they have been actually now seen as causes of a lot of problems, one here being mental health issues. So how they impact mental health is they basically lead to the disruption of something called as a blood brain barrier. So we have a blood brain barrier in our brain, like around our brain, which helps protect your neurons and your neurotransmitters. So in order for them to be not destroyed by toxins that can enter your brain, this barrier is there to protect. It acts as a protective shield actually. So these EMFs, what they do is over time they can uh, cause the disruption of this barrier and impact your mental health. So yes, EMF exposure can lead to mental disorders. That's one of the causes. Since I told you we cannot discuss all the causes, you can add on EMF exposure to the causes list anytime. Okay, there's a question that's been asked, that what are the things which should be taken care when planning diet of autistic child. So see, this is again a very generalized question, right, Gargi? While planning diet for an autistic child, there are a lot of things. So the child might be deficient in a lot of nutrients that needs to be looked into. Toxins are something that is definitely need to be looked into, right? Because it's often the toxin exposure and the toxin overload inside the body that is causing autistic behaviors and autistic symptoms in children. So that needs to be taken care of. What sources, what foods are you providing? So these children, so if he or she is a very small kid, maybe an infant, and if he's taking some powdered meal, so that also can be full of these additives and preservative kind of substances that itself can trigger such symptoms. Yeah. So nutrients need to be looked into, toxins need to be looked into. The gut health of a child actually needs to be supported here for autistic symptoms to be controlled. And there's one live that was done, you can go and check on YouTube, that was done between Pankhuri and Mugda. They had talked briefly about how to deal with these issues in children. So you'll find most of your other answers also there. All right, anything that you would want to add, Aditya, before we wind up?
Yeah, talking about the question that Gargi asked, lots of parents are there. They give lots of utensils that are there, which are made
Yes.
up of silver child, and so they are including different metals in the child's diet, and they are thinking that copper, brass, silver, aluminium will somewhat make the child more intelligent and make his brain more healthier. So that is another myth that you can probably bust, but they can have lots of heavy metals as well. So we need to take care of that, and if they are using plastic bottles, plastic and toys especially, toys have
Oh,
lots of
yes.
phthalates which are used to soften plastics, so that can also impact it can impact the hormonal health of the child. So that is one thing to
See,
watch
these
out
might
for.
sound very vague and vague tips, but then when you look at that child and try to find out these causes, these would act as really significant causes that can lead to autistic behavior in children. So I think these were the questions. And yeah, so thank you so much, Aditya, for sharing your perspective. And I think the audience here would have learned something new on how you can deal with mental health issues and improve on your mental health. Okay.
Thank you so much, Ria.
Yes. Thank you. Bye bye.